Okay, because this is video recorded, we want to start on time, even though we'll stall while we get ready. I got a feeling that we might have a few people show up. So just a couple things. First of all, welcome, everybody. Good to see you. And I got a few things before Jenny gets to her part. Just remember, if you're speaking and you guys share, you push the button and it'll turn green and speak into it. When you guys are done, turn it off. And it'll go red, and then that way we can make sure the mic picks up for everybody else. Really appreciate your time. It's a little cooler here than it is in other places, I'm sure. I know I was in a sweatbox and was kind of glad to come here. So tonight, this is the part I've been waiting for the most. I got a couple of, this meeting is my favorite. I remember when I got to do this years ago, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, and it's where we want to hear from you. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to talk about before I talk about the meeting. So there's a couple of things we need your help on, and we'll probably communicate out. The first is we've wanted to come up with a name for the alleyway behind the theater. If you notice, we took the utilities down, and eventually we want it to be some kind of post alley. And we're looking for a name for the alley. So through your residents, yourselves, and everything else, we want to come up with something that is going to get that information out. And we're going to get some candidates and come up with a name for the alley. And we'd like you guys to be part of it. So you'll be communicated to in that regard. The other one is, and of course Lloyd knows him because we do Broga together, Ben Anderson, one of the guys that owns the theater. I talked to him, last night, and we talked about the fact that, and it was also when we were having the coffee with the mayor, and he's agreed to do some kind of a tour of the theater for the Citizens Advisory Group. Now, the only thing I can say is it'll probably be impromptu, of a shorter notice than most. And if you can make it, great. If you can't, you can't. But we'll try to set something up where it has at least some advance notice so you can plan for it. It'll just be you guys, because if we get everybody or a good portion of you, trust me, that'll be a big enough crowd, and it is still a construction site. So it's something that would be essentially unrelated to the other things we're asking you to do. I just thought it was a great way for a lot of the community leaders here to see it, and then you guys can tell what you see. It's very impressive. Every time I go in, they've made progress, and I'm impressed with it. So what we're here to do tonight, and my time of speaking is quickly coming to an end, and I'm looking forward to that, probably more than you guys are. But as we said, your homework was to, bring what you think are the three most important considerations for the city, and then 3 for your neighborhood. And Jenny's going to lead the meeting, and how she does it, I'm going to leave that to her. But one of the things is I wanted this independent consultant for a couple reasons. One is because she's far more qualified of taking this process than I am, and 2, I don't want to be defensive in the city. You may have something that you think, and I'm like, oh, you don't know what the real facts are or anything. We want to hear from you. I'm going to be here to listen, and I'm taking my own notes for my own benefit, and I'm sure other people watching this and other council members that will probably watch the video will do the same, and that's great. We want everybody to hear it, and staff will be hearing it as well. But the thing is if there's a question, but if it gets into opinion or everything, one, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay away, and if I start to, I ask you guys to stop me, because the reason we're here tonight is to listen to you, right? So with that, hey, Daniel, if you grab your name tag and just grab a seat over here, then, we'll go from there. With that, with no further ado, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, and thanks for taking your August evening to spend with us. I know that August is a tough month to get together. I spilled coffee all down my white t-shirt on the way up here, and I tried to fix it, but I think I made it worse. So I apologize if there's a scene going on. We were going to say something. It's okay, it's okay. So what we're going to do tonight is I hope that everyone came with their 3 priorities for their neighborhood and then for their 3 priorities for the city, right? Did we all come with that? Okay. So I passed out cards. And what I'd like you to do, and it doesn't matter the color, I just like colors, so I tried to give you guys a variety of colors. But what I'd like you to do is everyone take a Sharpie. There should be some throughout the tables there. And either transfer them. I know that David had already typed them out, so he cut his up and taped them to his cards to make things easier for him, so that's great. So if you want to do that, he's got the tools. But if you can transfer them over for the 3 for the neighborhood, 3 for the city, and then we're going to start talking about them and presenting to the group and getting them up on the board. So we're just going to take a few minutes to have you guys do that, okay? All right, does everyone have cards? And dots, yes. Should we have 6 cards? You should have 6. 3 for your neighborhood, 3 for your city. You only have 5? Okay, that's my fault, sorry. Got it. And, do you need cards? Did I skip you? David, oh, okay, got it.
If you don't have cards, I'm a card boy, so just tell me.
You want one each neighborhood to do it once or twice?
We'll save those for later, just hang on to them. What was that?
You want each neighborhood who's got a lead and a backup to do once or twice?
Yeah, if you each have stuff that you did your homework, that's totally fine. We'll take them all up. Okay?
You guys worked on something together. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what he's still gonna get to vote later. Okay, perfect.
So while you're filling those out, Jenny asked me to just kind of ask what we would be doing with this information. And quite honestly, we'd be assessing it, looking at what the interest and desires and needs of the city are, and we would be incorporating in our future planning. Where applicable, where needed, et cetera. But this is one of the best ways for us to get feedback from the community on the direction we head in the future.
Does that include budgeting coming up?
It would include everything. As far as budgeting for next year, there might be some, might already be happening. I can't guarantee it would be, but the idea is we want to have this meeting prior to that.
Started. Okay, so the first exercise, what we'd like to do is start with your neighborhood. So if you pull your neighborhood cards out, I just want to invite you one by one to come up here, talk about what's on your card, and then go ahead and tack it up on the wall next to your neighborhood name. And so we're just going to hear what everybody's neighborhood priorities are, and I'm sure that they differ a little bit based on your neighborhood. And I know that, I was talking earlier with a couple of you, and there was some great feedback that hearing how the process went with your neighbors, and so I hope that you all had good conversations with your neighbors and were able to come to a consensus on the three. Otherwise, you sit on this committee, you get to make the decision, right? Okay, so, yeah.
Please use the podium microphone.
Yeah, I'll leave this turned on here for you. So is there anyone that wants to start? Volunteer to go. All right, David, you're up first. Come on up.
I'm only volunteering because of how often folks from my neighborhood come up to the city council meetings, so thanks. No surprise, we have a community association down there, surveyed our members, and that's where we came up with the basis of the three lists. Number one is addressing public concern. So current policing practices in the Redondo neighborhood are clearly not meeting the community's expectations regarding shootings, street racing, street noise, and parking enforcement, that this is dramatically diminishing our historical quality of life. For example, there's essentially unanimous public desire to see actual citations rather than warnings issued for traffic and parking infractions and for more frequent police presence down there. That's number one. Two is expanding public access between the Redondo Beach neighborhood, specifically the park or the shopping mall that's above us, Redondo Square, and then the public transportation hubs that are in our area, including both public transportation but also simply sidewalks to be able to safely navigate up the hill. This will be especially important once the 272nd Street light rail station opens. And the third is strengthening public engagement regarding the capital projects that are planned for the neighborhood. To a person, neighborhood residents deserve and expect to have a say in priorities and designs for those capital improvement projects down there. Do we put them up?
Thank you. Yeah, please. And these should just stick right up there when you guys put them on. It's like a big Post-it note. You're right there in the middle. Sorry, my handwriting is not that great. All right, thank you. Okay, who wants to go next? All right, Bernice, come on up. Perfect, thank you.
All right, as stated before, I'm from Pacific Ridge. Our neighbors, we would love to have a speed bump on 224th and 30th Avenue South. Reason being, it's a dead-end street, and people don't know that, and they race down that street. So we would like to see some, whether it's a bump or whatever it takes, to slow people down. So that's one of them. And as I said before, it's a dead-end street. Most people don't see the sign. So I have seen some signs with little lights around them. I'm wondering if we could have a sign that says dead end with little lights, because we think that would cut down on a lot of unnecessary traffic on our street. Also, they would like to see a reestablishment of the no parking signs on our street. There are vehicles on both sides of the street. People park there from apartment buildings and various places just to occupy a space, and there is no safe space on that street to walk unless you put yourself in the street. So we would like to reestablish, because years ago, I've been there 36 years, seen a lot. So there used to be signs that said no parking, and that just went by the wayside. So when people are given, leeway or freedom, they do what they please. Those are three of our concerns. Yes. Hold on to these.
Tack them up
Okay.
next to you're right up top there in the middle.
Okay.
Just anywhere, just throw them up there so that they're just kind of around your
They just
neighborhood.
stick?
I was gonna say, yeah, can,
Oh, they stick.
yeah, they should,
That's awesome.
they should, if it all works out. And hopefully this whole thing doesn't come tumbling down on us here soon. So, all right, next up. All right.
Here, right, okay. Again, my name is Magda, I represent South, I feel we're still saying South, so South Des Moines. And the three that we got are safety, particularly on Pack Highway, and I feel like I'm cheating because there's two in one, but it's safety, particularly on Pack Highway, and Kent, Des Moines Road, like those two that are around the south area of the city. And more collaboration with the city of Kent and the police of Kent, particularly on that area that is like, who's responsible, right, for that? Kent Des Moines Road and then the back highway. And then activities for the youth, so more things where they can safely go out and play during the summer in particular, or after school, a safe place to gather for the youth. Someone even suggested, what about parks and recreation internships? I saw something, so I shared what I had seen, that I was actually a paid job, but they would like to see more of that. And then help for the unhoused, homeless unhoused.
Perfect, thank you. It's right there. Okay, next up. Yes, go ahead.
Doing neighborhood first?
Neighborhood first, yes. And then Lloyd, get ready, because you're gonna go next, since you guys are saying, okay.
We've got different issues. Okay, so it's neighborhood, but I guess it bleeds also over to the city. We need more playgrounds, we need more splash pads, we need more parks, we need more space for the children. Zenith, in particular, we have a huge lack of sidewalks in the city as a whole. Nobody stops for kids for crosswalks because we don't have any crosswalks, and they constantly, as we're trying to cross the road, they yell, "Get out of the road," with the school bus stopped with the stop sign out trying to cross the road and they're still yelling at us to get out of the street. It's bizarre. Maybe we could just get crosswalks where the bus stops are. I'm not sure, but it's crazy. The speeders, we need more speed traps outside of Redondo. I understand the speeding's a real issue through there because it's 25, but in Zenith, it's terrible. Just trying to drive down Marine View Drive, trying to drive through 251st up to 250th to Fred Meyer's. We need speed traps, we need speed bumps, we need, I think if like a street bands together and wants a speed bump, if the city is willing to put those in for like the streets that want them, or traffic cams, something, the speeders, and oh my gosh, these kids are gonna get run over, it's so bad. Those are my three
All right,
neighborhoods.
thank you. All right, Lloyd, you're up. Sir, we're gonna let him go because he's same neighborhood, okay?
Okay,
And then you
yeah.
can be next.
And I'm just going to add on to what Stephanie said about the, and also I heard Magda Polina mention, like a positive public gathering space, something positive for the community, people to get together. And it ties into the other thing I was going to mention is the Masonic home restoration. That's probably from everybody I've talked to, the number one thing, because it's kind of just sitting there. And for years, for the last almost 100 years, it was a positive gathering space. People walk their dogs, they have picnics there, they have events. It's just a wonderful center for the city, like the plazas and, a lot of the cultural places around the world. It just has that ambiance. Kids can play there, people walk their pets. It's good for your health, to get out there, get some fresh air. So also it preserves Des Moines' cultural heritage and also provides some business opportunities. A lot of possibilities there. You could really do something amazing. And my last one was natural habitat protection. One thing I noticed about a lot of the new development, they pretty much clear cut it and they just flatten everything and then put in a few token trees. Whereas you look at the neighborhoods just up around here that were developed in the 50s and 60s, they all got really beautiful trees on them, and it's nice and shady. So, you know, I don't think it's a good idea to turn Des Moines into like a heat sink. Plus, you get tons of runoff when you put concrete over everything. And another priority, I think, is ocean health. Really support like SR3, helping the wildlife. We've got a lot of beautiful, yeah, beautiful wildlife. Yeah, beautiful wildlife around here. I think we should definitely try to help it. Birds, eagles, geese, rabbits, and the creeks, like that beautiful park we have over here, the beautiful creek. You know, it just ties into if you don't have those trees and prairies, like I think that Sonja Park over there, it's kind of like an old prairie. So yeah, those are
Okay,
my.
so question, clarifying question. Are those city priorities or neighborhood priorities?
They're kind of.
Are those your neighborhoods?
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
cities?
These are
Okay,
all in the
perfect.
neighborhood.
Okay.
They
Go ahead
overlap a
and
bit.
tack them
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
And then, okay. All right. All right, Charlene's coming up.
Hi, I'm Charlene Bacalzo. I'm the alternate for the Marina neighborhood, and I'm going to be sharing with our ideas for the Marina, our neighborhood. And our neighborhood has gathered several neighbors. I personally survey everyone I see, my staff, because I'm also a business owner here in town. And so I get younger people's point of view as well. And we also echo a lot of things that have already been said. They're on our list, but our three top ones are right here. Number one being preserve the marina's open space. That's our number one concern. And the second is replace the marina parking gates. And then third is establish a downtown parking lot. But we echo the traffic we have speeding down our street as well. The walkability of our neighborhood is diminished. We had crosswalks that were actually removed. So there's that. That's it.
Perfect. And I think I put you guys as Marina District,
Okay.
right? Because
Right
Marina
here.
10 is different. Okay, okay, just making sure we're tracking. And then, Victoria, do you have?
I'm gonna do the city.
Okay, so you guys combined, got it.
Yeah.
Pulled all our
Okay, got it.
neighbors. We have many more than 3, but those are our top.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, let's go, okay, we'll go and then we'll go.
All right, Ryan Crompton, Woodmont. Traffic and safety at the south end of the city is definitely a big one for us. I think, you know, we're right down there where Des Moines meets Federal Way in Kent, and so in particular, 272nd and Pack Highway is kind of like a demilitarized zone. No one owns it, and that's apparent. People are uncomfortable with going to the Safeway most times of the day. That the Redondo Square Plaza in particular, that could be a lot better. Kind of in a similar theme to that is, you know, trying to see if the city couldn't do some sort of targeted biz development for family-friendly restaurants and recreation in the south side. And then kind of, again, in that same vein, I think there's maybe an opportunity, especially with the light rail coming in, and Federal Way is already starting to do some redevelopment on their kind of corner of 272nd and Pack Highway to work with Kent, Des Moines, and Federal Way to kind of have a comprehensive vision for what that area should look like, and to try to execute that together in a way so that Federal Way doesn't have 10-story buildings. We've got just a one-level plaza, and Kent's done something entirely different, and it continues to kind of be a no man's land. So
Perfect.
those are our three.
Thank you. All right, Mary Ellen. Randy, we'll go to you next. Okay, yeah.
Hi, I'm from the Central District, and my neighbors were concerned about theft, specifically car, catalytic converter, car prowls, and mail and package theft. And they would like to see more police visibility in our neighborhood. They're asking for more drive-throughs, just to sort of alert bad people that they're around. Failing port packages. Their neighbors their windows are starting to lose their seal, and you know, you can't see through them anymore because moisture has gotten in. And the third is planes flying directly overhead, which creates noise and noise pollution and air pollution. And some people talked about like sort of having bad nerves because of the planes. I don't know if the flight path has changed or not, or if, pardon me? Not when you're on final. Okay, so we get it both ways, but yeah. So anyway, that's still an issue for my neighbors. Yeah, that I was just going to say it's probably that too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you're up.
All I can say is good news is jet engine are a lot cleaner than they ever used to be.
Oh, sorry, that was a tall one for you.
That's all right. I'm tall in my mind.
Got it? All right. Being as I'm the alternate in Woodmont, I'm Randy, and I would like to echo a lot what was just said. Yeah, I go over to the Safeway. I live on 15 South, right about 272nd. In fact, I'm 2 doors south of the fire station there at 66. One concern a lot of people have mentioned, it's an older neighborhood, but most of it was built in the mid to early 60s. It's the question of lack of sidewalks. It's a rough area, although just throwing pavement over anything doesn't solve it. There is a way to look at engineering sidewalks or porosity of the pavement so that water will perk into the ground instead of just running off. And that was a question that's been coming up quite a bit recently. So the lack of sidewalks, shuttles in the neighborhood, in that whole region. I spend a lot of my life at the Marine Science Technology Center. I do a lot of diving down there. I do their underwater photo and video for the Marine Science Center. And that has always been a question that keeps coming. How do we get down there? We're trying to move the food trucks down there on weekends. I think it's glorious. I think it's a great idea. More Hampton, more Louisiana crawfish, you know. But if we could have some way to have a city shuttle or some way to support it, not only down to Redondo throughout the Woodmont, but to be honest with you, Saltwater State Park. It could use some help in getting people down there. Now, we just had the Cambodian festival this past weekend. That went really well. I'm also one of the founding members of the Friends of Saltwater State Park. If you don't know, we have this really big, beautiful underwater reef out there. My organization, Washington Scuba Alliance, our nonprofit, we built that reef in 08, 09. Stunning. It's done wonders for the park. We've got great volunteers, and I encourage you to come into and volunteer to help do clean up with the state in there. They do a wonderful job. We got a good relationship with our state parks people. So that one shuttles down to those little areas. Crime hasn't been a massive problem, at least in the immediate area. There is the same complaints you had down there. I have yet to talk to any neighbors that have been hit, broken into, or had their catalytic converters cut off, and which I find amazing. So far, so good. Maybe being right there at the fire station, we do get a lot more police traffic do come down 15th along 16th. But speaking of good old 16th, as I'm coming here today and I'm looking at the line of traffic going southbound, one problem that happens just before at about what is that street? Yeah, right in that range. They'll come down 260th where the light is. They'll come up, and just as you get to 268th, where it goes across the 99 where the library is, they'll make a right, come down to my street on 15th, and go like a bat out of hell and try to cut the light. That starts to happen constantly. And I've come close to throwing a rock at a few people, but I'll get myself into trouble. You know, so. But yeah, they'll come down 15th, past us, and then cut the stop sign to make a right to keep going down 272nd. So that's kind of an issue. We got, what, I have one more in here. The shuttles, private property vandalism, not horribly bad. I haven't had any problems. On the 16th traffic, that's it. That's what I'm bringing up right now.
All right.
Right. Sticking bad boys up there.
Don't try to cut the light. You might get rocks. All right.
Yeah, I'll throw a rock at you.
You wanna go next?
That's pretty cool.
I'm Doug Andrews, and I'm the alternate for the marina tenants. And I have to give accolades to our marina staff and our harbor master. They do a wonderful job for us. But they're controlled by the council and the city manager. But our concerns that I hear, and the continuing concerns, The master plan, to know what the master plan is going to do for the boating industry and the marina. And some of the things that we've seen, we just roll our eyes back and like, that isn't going to work. We've been here, we know how this is, we've been around it long enough. We know that's probably not going to work, and we're still very nervous about that. Always concerned about fair moorage rates. I've been on several of the committees and watched how the moorage rates have been adjusted, and I don't think we're bad now, but our fears are that with some of the changes that are going on, that they may get out of control. And then the maintenance and the dock repair. I mean, we know that all the docks are going to be replaced, hopefully, at some, maybe not in my lifetime, but because I'm old. Just to make sure that they are maintained, and the staff does a pretty decent job on that. And those are kind of ongoing concerns that we have. I didn't come up with anything revolutionary at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're right center bottom there. There you go. All right. Come on up.
All right, so I'm with the businesses. I think incremental growth is important, and I think the marina brings a lot to Des Moines, and so it's important. I think for some of the small growth is connecting the upper part to the marina, and that'll help with all the other businesses, I think. And growing that little area in small ways for the children, because I see so many kids down there as well, I think would be a great place for children to play, because there's the water, but there's not a lot of parents I hear all the time, well, there's no playground. So I think having a place for them would be really good. And then that way they can all get tired out and go eat and help all the businesses so we can keep growing in a small way. But also keeping it small so we can keep a community feel, because small town feel is wonderful and it's so inviting. Whenever people come, they just love it. They love all of the places here, so friendly. So I think if we keep it small, it can keep that friendly feel. And people like to visit. The next one is, a lot of people don't know where Des Moines is or the signage. So I think helping grow the signage will help the businesses. It'll just help grow better. And that goes with the cleanliness. I think the flowers add so much beauty to the community, so in the neighborhoods. So I think that's been a really big plus. And then the last one for the neighborhoods and the businesses is, there's been amazing events, but I think growing that community and connecting all the shared spaces are really important. And there's been so many small events too that I don't know about or other businesses don't know about, and then they get hit with like a boom surge and they're not prepared. So I think helping with kind of expressing all the different small events that are happening around as well is going to just help better keep everyone connected and grow the community in a small way.
Can I interrupt for just a second? Yeah. Speaking of businesses and the marina down there, you probably know that September 23rd is International Coastal Cleanup Day again.
Can you turn your mic on really quick just so we can make sure? Thank you.
There we go. International Coastal Cleanup Day is September 23rd. And once again, it's our 4th year. Washington Scuba Alliance, SR3, Seattle Dive Tours, and Puget Sound Keepers. We're all joining forces again, working with Susie there at the farmers market. It's been highly successful. It brings in a lot of people, and having that partnership down there at the marina. This is unique to have this many divers come down. We do the underwater cleanup around the fishing pier in that area, especially now with the post-construction. So I definitely invite more people to pay attention to what we do in the diving world. You know, being as I've been doing this for 50 some odd years, 54 years.
Don't forget the city marina and
yeah, God bless
the city
Scott.
itself.
Scott has been great. Scott is a great partner down there. We utilize the port's bow picker boat. They take groups of divers out there, so God bless the marina folks, and they're extremely pleasant. I know most of those people down there now, and it's been a good deal down there. So International Coastal Cleanup Day, September 23rd. We'll be out there right in the middle of the program. So come down and look at our underwater stuff.
Hi, I'm Ryan, North Hill, North Hill, so I live like 4 houses from the Burien border, so way up there, far north, and kind of, to be honest, disconnected a little bit from the city. And I'll say at the beginning of both my comments about my neighborhood concerns and the city concerns, I think there's not a ton of them. And I perceive the neighborhood. I've also spoken with people from that live further south, all across the community, and there's passionate feedback. But I think up there in our little quiet North Hill neighborhood, people are pretty content. No one really comes through. We really don't have a lot of petty crime. So people are pretty happy. When I started talking to them and was like, "What are you concerned about?" They'd be like, "Well, it's a good question." You know, ask more questions and have a bit more conversation, and you can find some stuff. But my impression is that people are not burning with frustration. It's a pretty happy little pocket. But when you do start to get people talking and peel back a couple of layers, the first thing that comes through is always behavior enforcement, neighborly you know, quality of life having to do with living near other folks. So fireworks is always brought up, unkept property. I had one person talk about they filed a complaint about a problem neighbor, and the city did deal with it, but the neighbor was able to access who filed the complaint, and which caused a rift in the community. So yeah, so basically quality of life, neighborly behavior enforcement. You know, the city makes a rule, no fireworks, well, show up and help us enforce it. After that, comments on small investments, small developments. Again, people don't really feel like the city is up there taking action and improving anything. We're just kind of up there. So same as many people have mentioned, a lot of opportunities for sidewalks. Quick examples, the Des Moines side of 192nd, both sides of 8th, which is kind of a big cross street in our neighborhood, and then the Des Moines side of 199th, or maybe that's a cross street. Yeah. Yeah. Bike lanes, so you can ride the bike lane from the top of the Des Moines Creek Trail. I think you're in Tukwila, but as soon as you cross over to Des Moines, it's just dirt and sidewalk as opposed to the nice bike lane that leads down to the top of the Des Moines Creek Trail, which we love. And then the parks. So same thing. People there's not a ton of places to go, and the few that we have are limited. We have Westwood Park, which is a grass pad, which is totally unused. There's a nice new playground that gets some use. We don't have a lot of kids in my area, and then there's another grass pad in the back. It's just really low use at that park. There's a basketball hoop that's unusable. It's falling over. There's a pickleball court there where the paint is faded. There's no net. The water fountain doesn't work. So if you go down to the marina, you see this, you know, everything, the water fountain works for your dog. Things are developed, but up there at Westwood, it just seems a bit neglected. We have a huge population of people that walk their dogs in that neighborhood. We kind of get together every evening. We all know each other. A lot of comments that grass pad at Westwood Park that doesn't get used could be turned into a dog run. And I believe that it would really kind of bring that little community together, give us an opportunity to just kind of stand around while our little fur balls run around. And then there's also Water Tower Park. It has a very simple playground, but nothing else. You could add a few canopies, barbecues, things like that. Okay, and then last thing is just the disconnection from the city. I think people want some outreach. They want to hear about what's going on. I'll speak more to that later, but they just don't hear much, and they feel a little bit just disconnected. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. All right, last up. I think you're it. You ready? Right? Did we get everybody else? Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel, representing North Central, and one of the first concerns was more police monitoring through that neighborhood. So the church that I'm a part of is right on 222nd, and there's a lot of places to hide in that property, so we're constantly finding used condoms, and it seems like there's a lot of prostitution activity. Secondly is community formation, so people feeling disconnected, like there's not a lot of focused events in that neighborhood. And then third would be family activities, so activities and events for families.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks for the help. Okay, it's a good list. I'm already starting to sense some themes that we might be hearing in the next round too, right? This is all good work. And so just so you know, I'm going to be taking all your notes, typing them out, giving them over to the city,
associated with specific neighborhoods?
Yeah, this will be broken out by neighborhood, yes, for sure.
In addition, we'll have the video.
Yes, true. Okay, so for the next one, how far I have to be from this. Do you guys need a short break at all? You wanna just roll into the next one? Okay. So for the next one, we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna come up, we're gonna present our city ones, but then you guys have dots, okay? So once everyone has presented, and I think as we go through, I'm gonna be kind of moving maybe your sticky or your notes to kind of clump to the same category. So if I'm hearing speed bumps a lot, or if I'm hearing policing, we're gonna kind of put all those together into one. And then you have 3 dots, and after that, I want you all to come up and put your dots on your top 3 priorities out of the whole list. Okay, so then we're capturing everything, but then we're gonna say what was the consensus of this group to what rose to the top of the priorities and that. Does that make sense? So that's what your dots are for. So hold them until the end, we'll do that. I am going to take these down because they're starting to fall, so I wanna make sure. And then we'll be able, when you guys come up, I'm taking your neighborhoods down. Those don't matter anymore at this point. So you just put your cards up wherever. So as I'm starting to take these down, who wants to be first up? All right, come on up.
All right. Yeah, so following up kind of what I started saying earlier, I think when I'm talking to my neighbors, the thing that I notice is, even more so when asking them about their city concerns, they really didn't have much at all. Some concerns about kind of what's in our neighborhood, but really nothing major to share about what's going on in the city. And there's really not a lot of awareness. I think most people I talked to didn't even know that there was a proposal to develop the marina. They're just not connected to they don't realize really how the trouble's going down, how the struggles in some of your neighborhoods with safety, public safety, mental health and drug use, it's not registering. So they're not concerned, but I think maybe it's something that as a city we want to do. We want to connect with those people a little bit more. But again, if I peel back the layers and plant a few seeds, you can get people to support long-term development of the downtown area such that it is a destination. But I do hear people echo the desire for it not to get out of hand. And then lastly, you can get some feedback on ADUs. We've got nice big, like half-acre, quarter-acre properties up there in the North Hill neighborhood, and there's a lot of people. There's not a ton of density, and there's a general amount of interest in additional dwelling units, adding housing capacity to lots. And then the last thing, I think I did 4, but a mental health care facility. I think there's general agreement that as our nation moves towards a focus on mental health care, jurisdictions need to do their part and build these brick and mortar facilities where people can get acute, quick care. They don't have to wait for 3-4 months and get lost by the system. Anywhere?
Just anywhere, yep. Okay, who's up next? Okay, let's go.
Chuck Coleman with the Redondo District. These comments are not necessarily my comments. They're comments that we've obtained from lots of discussions with a lot of our neighbors. So number 1, addressing public safety concerns, including the prevailing issue of street racing and noise. Notably, our city ranks in the top 10th percentile for per capita crime in the state of Washington, per crime mapping website available through the city website, further emphasizing the urgency of this matter. Number 2, establishing effective two-way communication channels between city government and residents. Number 3, strengthening the connection between city government, department staff, and the community's goals, building a strong culture of service to the community.
Nice. I'm going to take this one off of here since we had about 4. I'm just separating it out to give this its own. So if you know that you align with what someone else already said, go ahead and find it. Otherwise, I can move things around here in a little bit, okay? All right, next up.
All right, the first one is property code enforcement. That needs to be enforced. Neighborhoods going to the dump simply because the code that's already in the book is not being enforced. We'd also like to see the city clean up the properties that the city is responsible for. There are areas in the neighborhood, tall grass and what have you. Many, many years ago, the city used to go through on these strips of land and maintain them. Not so much anymore. And would love to see a caution yellow left turn light on 224th. Those would be our three.
Perfect. I'm gonna make, since that's very specific, we're gonna make sure that that one goes separate, that 224th. I just don't want it lumped into like a safety category.
So just make my own area?
You make your own area. Yep. Okay. Next up, yeah.
Again, I'm Victoria from the Marina District, and we have a pretty robust group, so we put all the ideas we came up with up on a wall, and we had our neighbors go around and we told them, sign your name to your top three, but we had many more than three, and some of them have already been mentioned. Our number one for the city was to establish a reliable, consistent community engagement process. In other words, two-way communication. You guys are nodding. Yeah, the city knows they need to do better. Number two, create an incentive program to attract new and diverse businesses. I just found out there's 15 nail salons here in Des Moines, so we don't need any more of those, folks. And number three, I'm going to keep this one very general, the role of the city manager.
Okay, I think your communication one kind of lines up with these right here. And I'm gonna go development downtown here. We're gonna separate it. I think you've got separate.
Development, okay.
Yep.
Okay, and this one is like all off on its
All on its own. Perfect. Okay, next up. All right.
So this one is very similar to the one that I talked about for the South region, but it's safety. Again, in Kent, Des Moines Road and Pack Highway, and collaborating with the city of Kent on that. The other one is connecting all neighborhoods, having a place for all to gather, because we're kind of scattered all over. Like, what's our community center? If you think about the field house, well, the field house is over here, but then the senior center's over there. And then when we do our tree lighting, it's over there. So like, we don't have a place where that's, I guess the marina would be, but a place where we can call around, where we can go and see our neighbors. It's kind of like the farmer's market when we go during summer, but then the farmer market ends and we don't have, I guess, the quarter deck this year round. But like, what else that brings everyone together, you know, and to call it our own. And then the other one is activities for the youth, including like being a more walkable city, having more sidewalks, and I included here help for the unhoused and mental health, because I think one leads to the other one. If we don't have enough activities for our youth and more walkable cities and keep them out of trouble, they could then end up in the other category where they're gonna need services. So just increasing more activities for youth.
Do you want to create a secondary for the mental health up here to have two? Okay. Or it's already up there, so it doesn't matter. People can vote on it, right? So we'll do activities here and then, okay,
And
perfect.
we have safety somewhere, right?
Safety is right here.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what about the connection? Someone had mentioned
Connecting with
something.
neighbors, yeah, there's, I think Ryan had
Connecting
said
the
it.
city in this neighborhood, yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, all right, next up. Come on up.
It's amazing how some of the things I didn't write down, other people have, and it's, the community really does kind of think alike. But in the central area, we were interested in providing incentives for businesses to locate here. And the neighbors don't want like strip mall, the typical strip mall stores. They're wanting something like the kind of the boutique-y businesses to come in, something that would be, you know, draw folks to the city. And they also want to continue to maintain the small city feel. People, I heard that a lot, that I came here because it's a small city, you know, and we can go to the big city anytime we want. So that was important to a lot of my neighbors. They would like to address the homeless situation. They want the camps cleared out, and I believe that just happened. So I may be able to look like a real good guy when I start talking to my neighbors again if a camp got cleaned out. And yes, I took care of it. And to, yes, and to get them services. There was some humanity behind that. It isn't just, you know, get rid of them. But that was something that bothers the neighbors. And they want to bring back the commuter ferry, keep our community events, and they got specific. They like the farmers market, music in the park, coffee with the mayor and the police, senior center activities, Waterland Parade, and 4th of July at the marina.
By the way, on the Waterland Parade, we would, if you know anybody, we would love volunteers. It's a very challenging thing to get people to come. Waterland Parade, the committee would gladly accept members. Just, we've got some people, but we need others generationally to come in. Something that I actually used to, no, I know I'm looking at you, but I'm looking at everybody. No, it's just something that you mentioned is, and I bring it up, is that Waterland Parade and Destination Des Moines just could use members. It's a huge undertaking, and the group's been shrinking and could use some more people. And a lot of people doing a little can create a great event, is my call out.
All right,
So if you know anybody, point them my way and I'll put them in the right place.
All right, so I guess I'll go. So the first one is pretty standard fare at this point, encourage/target development, restaurants and recreation in downtown. Obviously, if somebody said incentives, trying to really target that. One person in my neighborhood actually had a really good idea of trying to see if we can't convert some of the farmers market like favorites to try to get some of them to develop into brick and mortars. I would kill for a bakery. I would literally kill to have a bakery in town. Not even throw a rock. Let's see. A lot of people that I talk to in my neighborhood would like to see the city, you know, find ways to be kind of environmentally proactive, and that takes a variety of forms. Everything from, you know, making sure that when city facilities are getting updated, that they're getting updated with modern, environmentally friendly equipment. Same thing with vehicles. When city vehicles are turned over, probably should switch them over to EVs in most cases. Another big thing that was talked about was parks, street trees, near shore cleaning, making sure that we're really thoughtful about those things. And then, of course, airport noise and emissions and how that negatively impacts folks. And I know there's not a ton the city can do, but the city can continue to be a pain in the butt, so to the port and the folks there. And then the last one was ensure that city staff and police departments have enough staff effectively to help the city grow and realize a lot of the ideas. I mean, we have a lot of great ideas here, but I think the city, as it's been growing over the last couple of years, the staff hasn't necessarily grown for either the police department or for the city. So I think it's more and more things we're asking more or less the same group of people to do, and I think that's probably unfair, and it will limit how much any of this can be realized. So making sure that there's enough staff to carry out these ideas.
Okay, I'm gonna put that near safety, but that's a whole different, I feel like, issue that goes along with safety, but it's separate than just enforcing safety. Okay. Yeah, come on up.
Okay, so I'm gonna just continue to sound like that Simpsons meme where she's like, but think of the children. I'm sorry. The first one isn't about the children, though. So I get a monthly email from Kent with their newsletter of all the events going on in Kent each month. I would love to see Des Moines do a monthly email that you sign up for. You can always unsubscribe. Do not tell Bonnie I said that, because I'm not trying to add to her workload. But if somebody could write an email, that would be, I think, the quickest and easiest way. Otherwise, the city Facebook page, the City of Des Moines should pay for their Facebook page so that the ads are promoted. Oftentimes, none of us see those posts until day or two after the event because Facebook suppresses stuff on purpose. So, sorry, that's just the way it is. None of our schools in Des Moines do after-school care, and the field house offers such a limited space. I know they offered way more space before COVID, and I understand the issues after, but I think this year they're looking at like 30 spaces for after-school care, and we have 3 elementary schools in Des Moines with no after-school childcare. So possibly expanding the field house or talking to the school district and figuring out how to expand these after-school childcares, or what can we do for these latchkey kids. The Des Moines Activity Center only seems to ever do senior activities. I never see any children's programming, so I'm hoping we could add children's programming to the activity center. The field house, again, doesn't offer much. They used to offer, when I was little, they offered dancing and painting and karate, and now, you know, there's nothing. If the activity center is only a senior center, can we change it to senior center so that we're not just waiting around for these activities that never happen for the kids? Just, it's not clear on what's happening. Thank you.
So you're specific for children activities? Specific. As opposed to events and stuff like that? Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna put you close, but not the same. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Suggestion. I was thinking about the one that you put up by itself having to do with making sure there's enough city staffing. And that really goes with the one that the Des Moines group is proposing about strengthening the connection between the city and the residents. Sure. Because we're looking for better city service. I think they go together, but I defer to Ryan on that.
Yeah, and I can see that. It's completely up to you. What I see that as more as a communication tool and making sure that you have those gathering spaces, et cetera. Am I interpreting it wrong?
Our intention was to say, we heard from a lot of people that were really pissed off about the service they're getting from the city.
Okay. Better service and more staff.
I think
okay lumping those together. I just want to.
I'm okay with lumping them together, but
Okay.
yeah.
So when you're voting on that, I want to make sure that everyone realizes that they're voting for better service means adding more staff potentially.
That would be fine.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
May I throw in something on that too? That doesn't necessarily mean permanent, oops, sorry. I'd like to add that doesn't necessarily mean permanent staff. For example, a monthly newsletter can be done by someone on contract who's got good graphics and good graphic skills, won't need to be paid benefits. You know, someone a lower level than you, perhaps, that can take on something like that, would love something like that, somebody in our own town who would like to take on what Destination Des Moines, et cetera, is doing. Little tiny Milton, population 8,900, they do a monthly print newsletter in color, 4 pages. You could send that out via email and distribute a few, 100 copies at the library and the senior centers, et cetera, rather than our Currents, which is a beautiful glossy, but it's out of date, it has to span 3 months. So I'd kind of like to have us begin to think a little more creatively in terms of two-way communication, and that would not cost a lot. You could divert a lot of the Currents money to something that is a little more useful. Thanks.
So I'm going to put full-time and or project consultant, okay? Awesome. So that I'll capture that in my notes when I'm doing that, okay? Yeah.
While we're having this discussion, there was also There was also a card up there about code enforcement. That was one of the examples that we tried to capture in ours, that there are issues with code enforcement on a lot of levels, so maybe that goes also in that pile also. But I forget. Brenda, were you the one that had code enforcement? Would it be okay if we threw that in with better city services or responsive city service?
That'll work.
It sounds like yes.
Okay, I want to make sure we're not getting the goal to be like too broad and you're losing what the actual tangibles are in there. Does that make sense? That it's,
It does.
you know, okay, all right.
One thing that I just want to add to that, I know we used to live in Issaquah, and they had a city staff person that was dedicated to facilitating or like effectively facilitating volunteers. And so kind of to your point a little bit, while it did take a staff person dedicated to this, they kind of acted as a force multiplier by finding people who were willing to volunteer to do everything from writing grants to newsletters to different stuff like that. And so it took one person, but you kind of got 10 people or whatever out of that. So that was I thought that was a very creative thing that they did.
Okay, good discussion. All right, who's left? Lloyd, I see you hiding over there. Okay, we'll go Lloyd and then we'll go.
So, as far as like citywide, I think it just ties into what I was saying about Zenith. I think the Masonic Home is just a wonderful gathering point for the whole city. I think everybody can enjoy it. That's why we want to do it. It preserves our cultural heritage, wonderful business opportunities, but they got a wonderful kitchen, maybe put a bakery in there. And great for kids gathering, families coming together. You can hold events, put a playground in there. There's trails in the back. And then also just protecting the beauty we have here. A lot of old growth, 100-year-old trees there, two amazing cedars of Lebanon. Some of the only ones around. There's a few up at the UW. And just preserving, helping the wildlife around here. Kids love wildlife. It's great for kids to get out and interact with wildlife in a positive way. Yeah, I think that just ties in with the parks and I think when you have those positive gathering spaces, it helps with safety too, because people know each other, they talk, they feel safe when they know their neighbors. It's like it's not like everybody's a stranger and lives in their silos kind of. And the last one, it's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit kind of out there, but just kind of building on the history of Des Moines, learning about it, recognize it. Also the indigenous, there was a speaker from the Muckleshoot at the Oddfellows just about a couple months ago. Deputy Mayor Buxton was there, and they talked about the people here, before, most of us got here. And the place, I guess Des Moines is called Tayuks. It means like first inlet or creek, which is the creek down there at the park. And, this used to be a prairie up here. Just kind of learning about that, working that. I really like what we did with the park down there with the lizard rock story. I think that's great. I think we should just build on that. I think it's a good way for us to connect and also to move forward as a city. And I think these things will help us move forward and have wonderful quality of life. So.
Perfect. All right, I think you have very specific, they're kind of their own standalones. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put,
I've got a question about the Masonic building, or direction I'm looking here. It's currently, what is its current status?
I think right now it's in an environmental review with it's kind of led by the city, but it's a state thing. And the public had a chance to contribute last summer to that, put in their comments. And
Well, is there a problem with the building to determine asbestos or any other kind of pollution? It's going to have to be abatement within the structure?
That's what a lot of people had questions about. Yeah, because they're concerned about that, and especially there's a critical care center right next to it. They're like the closest people to it. And so a lot of Judson Park people are very concerned about that, so.
Well, that's really not an issue. One who has spent a lot of years doing abatement work on ships.
Yeah.
That's really not an issue outside of the building.
Yeah.
But it's an internal issue. And the cost of reconstructing that building, much as I love it in there, I grew up in a big Masonic family.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that thing restored.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's money.
Yeah.
That's a chunk of change, man.
Yeah, I think if you have the vision, the money will just show up. It's like,
It hasn't worked for me yet.
the seed has its own means of blooming.
One can hope.
All right, you're up.
Okay, just having a vacation over in Leavenworth and spent a lot of time in Paulsbo being a boater. Development, and I don't know that the city, how much control they have, but Des Moines has some really kind of gross open spaces that or they were buildings, were businesses, been torn down, nothing done with it, just vacant lots, both on Marine View Drive and down below. That if there was some way that some of this stuff could come together, we could get some encouragement of the people that own the properties. I mean, because it's all private, what I'm thinking of is all privately owned, that we could develop the downtown on that level, do something to make it more Leavenworth, where every property is filled up and there's all kinds of fun stuff to do. Access, of course, we got a marina that's down at the bottom of the cliff and the city is up here. I know that there's some stuff in the works going there, but kind of on the same theme. The access from the marina up to more inviting things to do. I could see, and again, I've been around the city. I started the first grade in Des Moines Elementary School some 70 years ago. And so I've seen a lot of changes, but I've seen a lot of non-changes as well. And then the traffic and the speeding and the attitude of drivers, it's probably nationwide, but if there's any way that we can monitor, I mean, I live down in Woodmont and just trying to drive into Des Moines at the speed limit. I'm one that I really like the posted legal speed limit. Not to do fudge a little bit, but when you drive the local legal speed limit down Marine View Drive to come into Des Moines and you got being passed by people going 50, 60 miles an hour, we got to do something about the way people are driving.
I recommend rocks.
Pitching them out of my car at them?
Can I ask a question while you're up there? Would that fit into this category that's got only 2 on it now about law enforcement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
So I think that moves over to the left a little bit. It- yep. There you go. Great, thank you.
My concern on law enforcement, you can have all law enforcement you want, but if you don't have prosecutors willing to prosecute, and then you have a state legislature that keeps detuning of the laws, there's no consequences for people's actions.
that's my biggest frustration.
Yeah.
I mean, why doesn't our damn governor enforce the speed limit? Okay, now if you're gonna speed, we're gonna take you over and we're gonna charge you a big fine. And that's gonna change people's attitude.
There's a lot of overlapping jurisdictions, okay, state, local, county, government, yeah. Back to the rocks.
We're hitting the bitch and moan session right now.
I know, right? Okay. All right, I think we have 2 left. Am I tracking right? Oh, you already went together. Okay. Here, you, okay.
All right, so communication, I think that's key from the city to the businesses to the neighborhoods so that we all have that center place of community to go and share our lives. And then the cleanliness and the safety, I think cleanliness adds to that safety. So yeah, cleaning up those little areas so people feel comfortable walking through. And when that alley gets done, renaming it and creating a safe, beautiful place for people to walk, it just adds to that spark to Des Moines, I think. So cleanliness and safety. And then, yeah, just the growth, the small growth, not the big changes. Not that big hotel, but rather giving the children a place to play. Connecting the marina in the upper part. Those small things I think will be really big. Adding the ferry will bring people here to the cleanliness and the beauty of what Des Moines has to offer. And then the small food trucks and all those small little things that will just add to the cheer of Des Moines.
Okay, so for this one,
Yes,
quick question.
I know. There's a lot.
So we have gatherings, place to gather. We've got long-term development of downtown.
Let's
Are
do-
you seeing it aligning with either of these, or are you thinking you're totally different than that?
No, I think, yeah, keeping the small town feel, but growing.
Got it.
I think
Okay.
that's
Perfect.
important.
Okay. All right. Last one? Is there anyone else? Okay.
I think all mine could be boiled down to one. I had, a lot of the feedback I got was about kids' events, but I was really encouraged by the latest current. There seemed to be more of a focus on family and kid activities. But something that I think would be cool is the social media communication, collaboration, integration. Like if a lot of people younger people are not on Facebook anymore, so utilizing platforms like Instagram or TikTok, getting the word out. I think Des Moines is a great city. I love the community. I love the people that are here, but having more ways of sharing that information through multiple avenues and platforms and what's happening in the city. I really like the Currents, but if there's a way to make that more easily accessible, and some people are in the know about what's happening on Facebook or, Destination Des Moines events and then city events and other kinds of events. Another idea is I know like Doug at Edward Jones has done these What's Up Des Moines events for business leaders, but if there could be some sort of events to try to get people who love the city together, volunteers and citizens, just to share ideas and, yeah, I think there's a lot of negativity about things, but I think Des Moines is a great city that if we share ideas and get people who love the city together. So I thought the idea of a volunteer coordinator or manager would be really great. But those are the things that I had. Yeah, networking and public gathering spaces, volunteer management, and social media communication.
Perfect. Okay, so we got gathering spaces, so social media input with communications. We got networking, public gathering spaces right here. And then volunteer management. Whew, I feel like that's a whole separate thing, right? Than what we've talked about. I know it's been mentioned, but I think that that's the only card that has it on there. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through each of the categories. Get ready with your dots. You're gonna come up here. I know it's a small space, so we're gonna have to take turns coming up, and as many of you guys can fit up here at once. Put your dots on the ones that your top three out of these categories, okay? So we have the natural habitat protection. We have housing density ADUs. We've got environmental, being proactive with the environment, cleanups. This also is cleanup properties that belong to the city, okay? So I think that's kind of what the city can do, obviously, right? Masonic home restoration. It's very specific, the turn light on 224th, okay? The caution left turn light. Historical connections. This is the communication bubble, okay? The volunteer citizen networking. We've got community events and creating a gathering space for people here. We have something else that is also community events, but this is the one that really kind of creates that gathering. Would you guys like me to put all the events together? Because all events, I feel like, create a gathering space. Yeah, is that okay? I know.
And then you
Raylan,
could
it was
you
yours.
could put the volunteer management in with that as well.
With the volunteer management into the event space?
Because it's going to take somebody like that to pull it all together.
Okay, I also heard communications though for this volunteer. Not,
We can wear more than one hat.
okay, I just wanna make sure we're not convoluting it into one and missing the fact that you want it to be here too. Okay, cool. Okay, so this right here is events and gathering spaces, right? We have the mental health facility, here. Mental health facility, addressing homelessness up here. We have long-term development of downtown. We have access to the marina, and the rest of the city. So access between marina and rest of the city. We have created an incentive program. We got 3 of those here for businesses to locate here, okay? This is your public safety enforcement, etc. Up here, this we were saying activities for youth, correct? This is different, right? This is your actual activity center. Like figuring out what you're gonna do with it. Is it for children or not? It's not. But that's what I'm asking. that is different than having more activities for youth.
Well, I want more activities for youth at the activity center.
Right. But you want them all places, not just at the activity center. You want
This-
the field house and
Yeah,
other.
this one's for activities for youth everywhere, okay?
That could go with the events, no? Like having place to gather.
I think I'm hearing different for kids-specific activities. Like, yeah, okay. So here, this is kind of figuring out what's happening with the event center, either renaming it or putting actual activities in it. Okay. This is after-school programs, taking care of the kids. We've got the enforcement, this is adding more staff, this is helping out with those issues, right? Strengthening the city by making sure that you're staffed appropriately to be able to provide the resources that everyone wants. Did I capture that okay? Yes, okay. And then the role of the city manager, okay? So, we're all good with where everything is, okay? So as you guys want, go ahead and come on up here and just stick your dots on, like, it doesn't have to be on the specific card, but just a card within that grouping, just so that we kind of see where they're going, okay? So we can handle more than just one at a time if we want to move through here. Try to capture your dots on a card, though. When I pull them off, I want to make sure that I have all the dots on a card. Not just on the wall. Are we? Hopefully we can make it.
Okay, done. You're fast.
We only need a couple more minutes.
What they want, Johnny?
I got an idea for Redondo with all the changes we're gonna be doing. One has worked down there for many years. It's similar problem. Whatever.
Yeah.
Terrible crimes.
It's, yes, if you're west.
Yeah, except for that one,
Right.
that one
I'm
strip
feeling
where
tired
everybody
right
races.
now. It's too new.
When's the next council? Yeah, air conditioning in the council chambers needs to be up here now. Okay.
But you don't have that coming down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and bring it out of here. I want to try to get you guys out of here within the next couple minutes. So even if the items did not get dots or did not get the most dots, they don't fall off the list. The city's going to get the full list. They just, I think, want to see what rose to the top through the conversations here, okay? So we'll run through this. So activity center, like I said, nothing's a bad idea, okay? Did not get any. Activity for youth did not. Homeless did not, because it's already been solved, right? Housing density at ADUs did not. Historical connections didn't get any, and I think that's it now. Okay, so these are still going on the list though. All right, so over, let's see, with one, we have the role of the city manager, after school care, mental health facility. We've got the light on 224, and then natural habitat protection. I think I've got those all captured, okay. And then, let's see, where do we go from there? For two, oh wait, and access from the marina to the city was one also. So for two, this is the incentive program for new businesses to locate, okay? And, I'm just kind of tracking upwards here. I think that's it. So for three, we got the Masonic home restoration. And then for four, we've got our city, our safety, speeding, etc. Okay. Let's see what else. We got four down here for the volunteer management, community events, networking space, events, etc. in that one, okay? Making sure that we can connect with our neighbors. All right, and then five, we've got environmental protection and taking care of cleaning up the properties that the city manages. Okay, so making sure our parks and everything are taken care of too. All right, so these are your top three. So with six, you've got the city staffing to ensure that you're staffed properly to be able to do the things that you want with the resources, okay? All right. And then with seven, you've got the long-term downtown development. And then with eight, you got communication. So, are we surprised? Anyone surprised by your top three? I don't know. Matt, are you surprised by this? Did you, anything new pop to the top that you were not already like thinking would be there?
I have my mic on. I have to just compliment y'all. I wanted to stay out of this because I listen to, if anybody knows, I'm around town anywhere and everywhere I can be, and so is, like Deputy Mayor Buxton. And we listen and we hear the concerns, and those, the city concerns, particularly the last 5 or 6, aren't a surprise. Focus and resources and things like that to figure out how we can get those. But I thought, your comment about the activity center, using it for children as well. We've looked at things like the Des Moines Elementary, the old one, or something like that, some of those things. So that's been something on my mind. I thought creative, mental response right now, we do have the Score jail in town. We're using it there when we can apply to it, but we brought in mental response people as in addition to our police force to help and assist and try to plug in to the community. Some of these things can be solved regionally versus locally, but it is a concern. Homeless is another issue. I like some of the specifics. I gotta say I love the neighborhoods because I try to, one of the things I do is I drive the town weekly, right? I drive up and down. I've got my different routes and things like that. But to hear it from you guys was what I think was the biggest benefit for me about what was important to your particular neighborhoods. I'm more complimentary here because you guys are achieving what I hope this would do. I wanted you guys to be a diverse group with coming from different backgrounds, and I'm seeing the benefit of that. So I just want to say thank you. But no, I'm not surprised with what I saw, and half of me's going, where are we going to come up with the money? But that's a different thing. That's what you hire us to do and figure out. But no, it was great. I was on the, as I told you guys, I was on the Citizen Advisory Committee, probably 6 or 7 years ago, I think was the last time it was in place. And this is better than what we did before. And that's what's exciting for me. So obviously the good work will continue. But I think it's assessment. We get the list together. It'll be something where, you know, partner with the city staff and leadership and talk about some of the needs and take your notes from here and how we can integrate the components into the budget. You know, some are, I'll use sidewalks, for example, because I've heard every neighborhood wants sidewalks. You know, I will tell you, with stormwater drains and utilities and sidewalks, it is very expensive to add those components. But can we incorporate it in a process over time and hit different neighborhoods? An example would be in North Hill, they replaced the water lines. Well, we replaced the streets. You know, they had to pave half, we paved the other half, and we were able to get some done with the combination of the utility and us. But had we gone to sidewalks, you would add $1 million to the thing in there, and it comes out directly out of our budget. You know, so those are always tough. But the safety and walkability has always been important. The next time we meet, one of the things I'm going to bring is a comprehensive plan from 1962. And I want to read it to you guys so you can see. It's frightening. It is, and that's part of it. But this is the thing is, you know, one thing that's in common that wasn't mentioned, or it kind of was, is we all want what's best for the city. You know, and you guys are giving your time, I give mine, you know, those kind of things. And that's the great part about this. You know, this helps define the future. I'm not going to promise that everything gets on there, but it will get talked about. That I can promise you. And it may not happen yesterday or tomorrow. It might be years from now. It's part of it. There's a lot of what you mentioned, like there's a capital improvement project document that we have that's hundreds of items, and a lot of them are actually on there. The trick is, quite honestly, funding. Raising taxes and other things are always something we try not to do, right? And, you know, so they're finding creative ways. Like, I love the fact, and I'll talk about the business incentives and bringing business here. We need some buildings for businesses, but businesses bring in a different source of revenue, and events do too. Events that can be, they can bring in people for a short term. SR3, if we could make that available to the public where they don't see the animals, that could bring in a bunch of people during the week and the weekends and the summer to see the animals cared for, and they're going to eat in our restaurants and shop in our shops. So there's ways like that. So there's exciting things here that are added, but I thought you guys did a really comprehensive job, far better than I'd even hoped. So I compliment you. With that, I'll work on that tour, and I'll wrap up, and then I'll let you finish. So the other one, we're targeting, I believe, November 1st. I think is the date we settled on. So put that down and tell your alternates if they're not here. That is going to be the review of the budget. Okay? And that's in the ordinance, that's the primary one is so what'll happen is the week before the council will be presented the budget. I would say that if you get a chance to either watch that meeting on I think it's October 26th. I don't have my calendar handy, but it would be the last Thursday in October. You want to watch the budget meeting. It's highly exciting, riveting information. You'll be at your edge of your seat, that kind of thing. But it'll give you a wider spectrum of the total thing, and it'll be available on the website. So when you come in on the the next week, and we'll give you a presentation. It won't probably be as detailed and stuff like that, but you'll get the opportunity to look at it and ask questions and things like that.
Could we all just get a tickler once it goes on the website?
Yeah, well, Bonnie, but I'm just giving you the dates now, but that's a great thing. But October 26th will be the
budget.
Yeah.
Budget goes on the website.
Yeah, it'll be, I just know that the first reading will be October 26th. And I encourage you, like I said, you can do it from the comfort of your home or here, whichever you prefer. I'm limited on those choices. But it's gonna be important. In the meantime, I'll try to facilitate, like I said, the tour of the theater, because I would love for you guys to do that. I believe that's gonna be a major cornerstone. If you look 3-4 nights a week, they could have 400 or 500 people there. That's gonna bring business to our restaurants, add opportunities. I want a bakery too, amongst other things. But you know, but that's gonna be good. And then the other one is, we'll try to put some communication out, but the alleyway thing, I'm sure the city's gonna go out to you guys. What we're trying to do is, they want to have a contest and come up with a name. You talked about, I've seen in the history books what they called the plateau and stuff like that too. And, you know, there's ideas, but we want to make that something that means something in Des Moines. And in the future, and a lot of us will be older and grayer or whatever, but we could have a really cool vibe and a buzz. And I heard the other thing I heard that has reiterated that I love is that you want the city to grow, but you want to keep the small town feel, which has always been my sentiment too. And I love that because that reaffirms the mindset that we do have here. Anyway, but it's a wholehearted thank you for your time. This is, you know, this is a lot of extra work and taken away from your families and stuff like that, but we appreciate it. We really do. And, you know, you can always send me emails, give me feedback on this event. Jenny, if you don't want me involved, give it to Jenny. Because I like anonymous type comments if that's what you prefer them to be, and so forth. And with that, I'll let you finish up.
Yeah, well, thank you again for your time. I know I spent most of my career working for a public agency, and internally sometimes you think you're tracking until you get the feedback and you're like, oh, I wasn't totally tracking that item. So I think that this is great. I really appreciate the time and the effort that you guys all put into this to be able to provide this really good feedback to the city. As the mayor said, I will be, like I said, taking all of those cards. I will be putting them all into one document, breaking it out by neighborhood, but then doing the city as a whole. I will make sure that the numbers for the votes are reflected on the city as a whole things, but nothing will fall off the list. All of your comments will be captured on there. And then I will make sure that that is sent out to you. I also want to just do some follow-ups because I have been asked tonight that I think maybe this will answer some other questions for you, is that when you're going to get a meeting notice for the next meeting, but requesting that there also be a follow-up reminder for the meeting closer to the meeting, as well as maybe the agenda sent out prior as well. Okay, and then also letting you know when the budget goes on the website. I'll ask Bonnie also to do a reminder for when that budget meeting is set. So if you want to attend or at least watch it once it's complete, so that you're a little more prepared coming into that November 1st meeting. And I will also be working with Mayor and Bonnie, and we'll have some expectations of that meeting on the 1st of what the role is for the Citizens Advisory Committee, for all of you to go through. It's not just walking in here just with this budget document not knowing what your role is for the feedback. So making sure that we have those clear expectations before the meeting. Anything else that I missed? And double-sided nameplates. Okay.
So this isn't anything you missed, but I want to compliment you on having done a wonderful job.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You're a very fun and easy group to work with. All right, so I appreciate that. Thank you. So thank you again for taking your time, especially being here on a nice sunny evening. And so I hope that you're able to go now spend some time with the family. Thank you.